I know I don't want to make fun of him, but Cutman was useless. You threw out a pair of scissors, man. I had dodged those because that's all he did. He's just cutting. So it's like, oh, there we go. I figured it out.
Gamertagged.
Welcome to today's episode of Gamertagged. Today's guest is someone who's more than just a voice in the crowd. He is the voice, a champion for independent creators and a lifelong gamer with roots in game development. IndieVoice has spent the last 9 years building a platform to spotlight the overlooked, the underfunded, and the downright brilliant. From quick hit reviews to deep dives on game preservation, he's out here giving indie games the respect they deserve and making sure their developers feel seen. He's published over 700 videos helping to support independent developers worldwide. Today's story is one about passion that comes from understanding and seeing folks in positions where they were overlooked and not given the support they need, and trying to make a platform to do that. Today's story is the metamorphosis from once ShadowMegaManZX, where his roots start, to today as IndieVoice. Let's roll. So first thing, right? ShadowMegaManZX, that is your gamer tag, your original gamer tag. What's the story behind that gamer tag?
So ShadowMegaManZX, it was something that at the beginning, I got my first console, like Xbox 360 or something. And at the time I was like, I don't have any idea what's right here.
Yeah.
My best friend of mine, Kevin, was like, man, you play Mega Man Battle Network a lot, so why don't you call it Mega Man something? And I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, there was, I think it was Mega Man Zero, which happened. And that was the Game Boy Advance. And I was super into that because they did a really good job on it. And then along the way, Advent Children, then there was Mega Man ZX. And then it was something like, I was like, you know what? And the Shadow the Hedgehog was one of my favorite Sonic characters because he was just, I'm this dude that comes out of nowhere. I'm a bad guy. Let me just come out of here, save you, and then I'm going to walk away.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that I just fused them together. And then I was like, yeah, you know what? That works. This is something that gives a bit of retro and more of, hey, Shadow the Hedgehog, that dude's awesome.
Oh, yeah. So that name really represents like different parts of your personality, right? Because you were just talking about how Sonic was like the game when you were younger. And then you have a love for the Mega Man series too, right? And so you just fused it all together. And that's ShadowMegaManZX.
I played my Mega Man 1, 2, 3. I played all through them. And then at a point in time, it was like Battle Network showed up. And then that's pretty much what spammed it.
Yeah.
And I stuck to that name for years because it was just like, it's a part of a history that started a good chunk of what I do. I'm that one kid that was in class that probably had 2 handhelds and all the Nintendo Power Game Informers and all that stuff in the backpack. And they're like, where's your school book? Where's your school books?
You're the reason why they made a Wii.
Probably.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I said, we out there, and they're like, dude, that's it.
That's awesome.
That's the name.
Have you ever thought about, I guess, if you're like going to be a Mega Man character, right? Since you were talking about like how deep that was in your lore, which Mega Man character would you be?
Like of all the supervillains or heroes, whichever one.
Well, like I think about it, like which power would you want? Leap Man. Yeah. So out of the villains, right? Because you acquire those powers over the journey of Mega Man, right? You get those powers and you can then use them as Mega Man. Which one of those powers is, that's the one I think I want to be?
Probably most likely Electric Man or Iceman, but only those two, because they're probably the most useful when it comes to daily life situations. The only one I found just super useless was Cutman. I know I don't want to make fun of him, but Cutman was useless. You threw out a pair of scissors, man. I had dodged those.
Yeah, man.
Because all he did, he's just cutting. So it's freeze you to death. There we go. I figured it out.
I can move faster because I can throw down the ice. Electric Man Electric Man was really hard to fight. Like I remember that.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh man, that was such a brutal fight. Brian, did you have a question that you wanted to ask? Sorry.
Yeah. No, we talked about the gamer tag being ShadowMegaManZX, but your YouTube and other stuff is IndieVoice. And that feels more like a mission than a nickname. When I first heard it, I'm a musician, so I thought music stuff. But really, when did you realize that is who you wanted to be and the community you wanted to uplift?
So when I came to the name of IndieVoice, it took me a while to get through to the name, because before I had this channel, I was called Skyterra Reviews. It was the old name. I went through the Latin dictionary and I said, okay, this means what? After a while, the channel didn't feel like what I wanted. It felt useless. So I deleted it and I decided to restart again. Then IndieVoice, I saw all these indie games, all these amazing accomplishments, people breaking barriers of genres of games more than AAA title companies could ever do. I said, I need to make something like that. So my first logo was a microphone and it had IndieVoice on the side of it, because I'm being the voice of all these indie games that are people have never heard of, or they're going, this game sucks. I'm like, let's look deeper into this and why it may be bad. It could be bad, but it has something that you may have never experienced before. So with IndieVoice, it was more of, I am being the voice of those that you can't hear, or those that you've never seen before, or games out there that are just so buried amongst all these other AAA titles, you can't even see where it is. So
yeah, like you wanted to represent like marginalized developers who just don't have the money to advertise
like a marketing, social media marketer or anything like that. So I'm being the person that's out there reviewing all these games. Like the one game I reviewed was Jump Team. And even though that game was the most stressful thing in my life, it was a useful mechanic of you have to be accurate with your jumps to reach from platform to platform. Sure, you're going to fall down all the way to the bottom and scream internally, but it was a game that gave you a challenge to say, hey, I need to be as accurate as possible to get to this area, to get to the top, where it's going to be more challenging. And people, when they saw this game, the developer saw the review for it. Sure, he was laughing because I was in deep disarray because that game was my bane of my existence, but it was fun. Like, it was something that made me challenged from the usual games I play that, oh man, I can jump to this platform and then I misjump it and I landed on my face. I'm just like, I really want to destroy my controller today.
Do you feel like there's been times in that like cycle you're talking about where maybe it's the first time for some of the devs to see someone like QA that game and walk through it and then ask the question of, is that really what I wanted to create? Has that ever been like an experience you've had in the work you've been doing there?
I would think from my experiences of the many games I reviewed, there have been people that showed me these games and some of them look like they may be saying, you may or may not be interested in this, or this is my first game. And then it's like they're throwing out the little confidence they have about their game because they're not sure if it's going to be like a major hit or something. And I'm giving them the positive reinforcement of comments. So it gives them more of, hey, this game may have this issue, but you are improving it with this issue. You just need to fine tune things. So positive, constructive criticism.
Feedback. Yeah.
Not the harsh reality as many others, if we want to say who we know who is giving them the harsh reality of what their game is and barely giving them much constructive criticism. But you released a game and that is what you wanted to do. So now expand on that, improve on what you messed up, and then do something better, because there's always going to be a golden egg from your game. It may not be golden automatically, but over time, you will reach that area where it's like finely tuned and you're going to love it. And you're going to be like, man, I'm proud of myself.
That's super cool. I did notice on your logo with the microphone that it says games and beyond. I'm curious, what is the beyond? Where has that taken you that is outside of the gaming space?
So I have been trying to collect some ideas or things that I want to expand from not just video games, but maybe expand to tabletops, to maybe some other things out there. Because I want to try to expand that. It's just life has not been easy or I have not figured out a way to implement that yet. I'd probably need like a group of like maybe 10 people or maybe 5 to do like tabletop games. I want to expand to tabletop games, but at the same time, you're only one man right now. So you can only do video games, but you want to expand to maybe tabletop, to some VR stuff, or maybe some other things that people have made in the indie industry that have helped the world in a better way, or done something that many of these other corporations could do, but they don't want to do.
So as a person, like, I think you're listening, or you're listening to what the developers are saying, not just like verbally, but you're listening to the content that they're creating. And you see it as, I want to elevate this idea, even though that idea could be something that like isn't necessarily polished or whatever, but you see the idea that someone's created. Right?
It's a good idea that's sitting there. Sure, it may not be polished, sure, not be like the best thing since sliced bread, but it is something that can easily grow into something 10 times better over time.
I think people can be drawn to the simple games. Games have gotten to the point where sometimes you got to push 8 different buttons in different orders and stuff. I'm thinking back to the days when we had the smaller controllers with less buttons and
left.
I just realized things have gotten, as the world has gotten more intricate and complicated, games have followed suit. And so I think there is this draw to a game like Peach that's 2 buttons. You have one goal. It's not 1,000 side quests or anything like that.
Like, it's just 2 buttons, A or B, up, down, left, and then just go about what you want to do here.
Yeah.
Like Comic Zone. That was pretty much what that was.
Like, in that same vein, like, you had a review that dropped for InCycle, and you said that felt like Battle Network all over again. So what is it? And I think like you both are talking about it, but we don't have to talk games. We can talk about philosophy, but like, what is it about that era of like Battle Network that you think we've lost, and what indie games are trying to reclaim it?
The indie scene is trying to get the era of the golden age of gaming where people actually enjoy the games they have, while AAA title companies are barely doing that anymore. They're not even touching the fun aspects of a video game now. They mostly want more profit, which is not what gamers want today. If I'm spending $70 to $80 on a game, I want it to be fun, at least worth of the time that you're giving the price tag. And sadly, I'm estimating this entirely, 70, maybe 8, maybe 75% are just like, the games aren't fun anymore. They're not like what people want. So indie games are reclaiming the golden age where every game was like, oh man, this is good. I can't wait to go back home and play it. Or friends are talking about, I caught this thing in Power World. Where? And then a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's,
for me, I can totally identify with that, because like some of like when I think about like what games like make me up as a person, like that is something that resonates with me is like Braid with Jonathan Blow, or Fez by Phil Fish, right? Like games that were trying to say something or do something with a very common interaction method, but both one's a 3D platformer, the other is a 2D platformer, but it's a vessel or a way to express a different mechanic or a story, or like even try weird things. And what I always love doing is trying to understand the designer and the developer and their intention behind the art that they've created. Because I don't ever look at them as it's a game that I paid money for. I look at it as a person sat down over multiple months or years and laid out this experience they wanted someone to have. And one of the cool things I think about games is they are a quiet communication of both interaction, expectations, and progression to a player that they've never met. And so your game has to do that. And like those things became very formative to me of trying to understand what the developer is saying, not like verbally, but like with their actual design and intent. Is that something that like resonates with you?
Yeah, because there was what was the game called? I can't think of it at the moment, but every time I get an indie game or I purchase one, I immediately look at this and go, okay, so I know I bought this, but I want to see how this game plays and how it's something that could easily be like different than all the rest of the games, like Vampire Survivors. Now that has a mass niche of like video games that follow that same genre of that, but they all do different things, even though they all use the same mechanics. Right. And this person looked at the original and said, how can I improve this? How can I make this more fun? How can I expand more of the tree of the entire characters that I'm creating? So it's like they're all not piggybacking, but they're more like, I'm giving you inspiration for something that maybe you want to expand on something I didn't see before. Yeah, I do feel that. Like it's something that the indie developers are helping each other, not verbally, but more of inspiring more indie developers to do what they want to do and make that game they've been dreaming.
Yeah, man, I love your passion. Like I think your headspace is in a similar one as mine. And for me, my background comes like from an education from game dev, right? Like I grew up, I wanted to make games. I got into game dev and then I was like, oh, this industry is brutal. But I've always been fascinated with trying to understand the outskirts of the industry, like the people who make stuff or the people who engage with stuff, or just even like in this exact show, the social spaces and the communities that are born out of the industry itself, where you don't have the word gamer tag without having a reason to build those environments or communities where you're a unique thing engaging with something and people know you by that name. And I think that all that's so cool. And I guess I've always been really fascinated with the fringes of the industry, just coming from that background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And these are some people that were used to be in the industry back then. And then they separated from the AAA industry to make their own company, like Team 17. I think that's what it was. The same people who used to work for Rare and now they're their own little thing. They're trying to bring back the age of where you can feel comfortable playing whatever game you want without having to have any sort of worries about the world as it is.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about video games, because video games take me out of, if I had a long, stressful day, I want to play Spider-Man 2. I just swing about, beat up some bad guys, do some cool air tricks, switch between Miles and Peter, and just have fun.
Yeah. Your content doesn't like just review games, right? Like you build a space. Like you have a lot of folks who followed you for a long time and they engage with you and they really trust the content you make. But there's something like deeply personal about how you like champion these smaller voices in the industry. What drives that emotional connection for you to the devs that you feature?
So when it comes to me reviewing most of these games for like smaller devs, big devs, or the rare chance it's a AAA title game that I actually enjoy or want to review, what drives that connection for me to do these things is because I used to be a developer myself. I know the ins and outs of like how Unreal Engine works, how Unity works, how CryEngine works. And I know it's tough because you want to make something that you want to bring to life that you've been dreaming about, but you have no idea how to put it out there successfully. And when I see these people and I see their like backgrounds, how they like made the videos or how they made the games and everything, and you know how they take their time doing it, I feel like inspiration that these people took hours of doing this throughout their day, working at day jobs or night jobs, drawing up plans, making ideas, taking the time to make a game that they want to put out there in the world to see how much they can get by impressing all these gamers out there that play video games daily to say, what do you think of what I'm dreaming of?
Yeah.
And
yeah, for sure.
I want to build that space that, look, I may not get to everybody's games. I'm only one man, but I try to make sure to make your game be visible out there because you worked hard on this. You don't want like any old game journalist just, oh, thumbs down, sucks.
So you, as a game dev, right, you're looking at this through the eyes of someone went into this classic type of medium,
like a genre.
All right, a genre. And then they wanted to do something unique and different. And they took what they thought was funny or fun or interesting, wrapped mechanics around it, made it actually an interesting experience for you. And then you're like, okay, cool. You maybe missed the point, like the larger reviews, the reviewer missed the point of that whole thing. And so you're like, this has to change. Yeah.
And I understand you trying to make sure to review all these AAA title games, but there are a lot of indie games here that do better than them, sadly enough.
What are some games you worked on during indie dev? Like when you were doing development, you probably had a lot of projects you worked on, but what are some things that that stuck out to you as moments where you were trying to like take something and make it feel new?
So I had several game ideas in the past. It was some really ideas I wanted to try to expand off of. If you remember the game, was it Parasite? No, it was Parasite. It was something with a character named Alex Mercer, and I'm trying to remember what that is. It was some game we'll do with a jacket and a hoodie, but he was going around getting power-ups to expand his
prototype.
Like, yeah, that's it. Thank you. I remember Alex Mercer, but I couldn't remember the name for the life of me. That game had a really unique concept of you're jumping around, superhuman strength, everything like that. But then over time, you gain abilities, which changes the form of how your body works and expands on that. I had an idea to use like metals or things like that to kind of figure the character's body into different types of shapes of what they wanted to do. And that was an idea I had. And I worked on one game. It's not really fully out there. It's just a private game we haven't really touched in years, but it's called Dia de los Dinosaurios. It was like a school project type of thing. It was supposed to be like Day of the Dead with dinosaurs. And
that sounds rad.
Yeah, really
awesome.
fun. Yeah, it was a really cool game. And then it was an end of the school project, but we still had like our game dev recordings and things like that. Worked on it with Unity and really good people. They edited, they did art, they did a lot of amazing stuff for it. Sure, it wasn't like the most polished thing, but we had a really good idea for making it like a platformer and then unique type of things about Day of the Dead and a lot of other things that I remember about it.
Do you think back to those moments of doing that work with your team? Because it's rarely one person who's building it. And like you start to have this emotional bond with the team who's building everything. Right. And so the game becomes a manifestation of the vibe of that group. Right. Is that something else that like maybe stands out to you?
If we had the time or more time to do all this for years of time, or just we made our own team or anything, sure, I would love to be a game designer again to try to redo what I could do or try to fix a lot of stuff in Unity and things. But then at the same time, you realize we could do this, but we're going to need a lot of help just to make sure we keep this going. And then you have a lot of competition, the niche and everything. And then I would love to keep going on. Even if it wasn't the most successful game or anything like that, I would still say I released a game and we did it together. I don't see the downsides here.
Bro, I think you just described indie game development, which is exactly why you're in this business and trying to help people.
Because it's not easy out there when you have like Final Fantasy VII, so part 4. I'm like, yeah, thanks. I need that one now.
Yeah, you were talking about uplifting those indie devs. There was a moment from PAX West. There's a clip where a dev thanked you directly for featuring their work. Just what did that feel like to be recognized and be seen by a voice that matters?
Honestly, when I shook that person's hand and then talking to all of them there over time and introducing myself and things like that, sure, it was very busy and people were like talking very loudly and going, yeah. It felt like I'm doing the right thing. Like it felt like I'm making somewhat of a difference in the world. I really want to try to make my mark on the world. I want to try to leave something behind and say, hey, I did this. I made indie games important. I made indie games into something that, hey, doesn't matter how small your game is. If you did it, you put your blood, sweat, and probably many keyboards that are probably broken right now. You did this. You took the time to make the game. You took the time to work on it with your team or just by yourself. You made something inspirational. When that dude shook my hand and said, thank you for reviewing my game and thank you for talking to me about it. And thanks for taking the time to even look at it or even review the demo or something. And I'm like, hey man, look, I'm always happy to help people. I'm always happy to make sure that they know that their game that they put all their time in has some sort of visibility somehow, some way. And it felt great that I did something inspirational to someone to keep going and keep making their games. It's something that someone is out there watching all of them, watching what they do. Not like some sort of stalker or someone that's...
You want people to feel seen. So you're watching. You're trying to be a supportive voice for them. Yeah, I totally get that.
The world is so connected, though. Really, it's going to sound super cliche, but one person can really have that impact because of how connected we are as a society.
Totally.
Yeah.
You've been out here making content like that for 9 years, dude.
And now when you say it out loud.
Yeah. But like that, you're trying to be a positive ripple and make that happen every day. We were talking before the show, and one of the things you were talking about was like how you focus on the process and how to make it more effective and make sure that the reviews can be consumable and thinking about the audience who's consuming them, but also trying to make sure that you're building content that's valuable and people are interested in. And really, like, you're doing that in the pursuit of, I want you to watch this because I think it's important for you to watch it. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing my part in enabling you to do that. That's cool.
And I try to expand from just doing game reviews to doing good old games video where I show like good old games, or GOG is making preservation for video games. I try to make sure people know that we are a part of video game history. We have experienced it. We have been there. We have been through the point where someone goes, the PS2 was out, or the Wii, and then seeing Halo 3 being released. You were part of that history, and you can't forget the fact that you did that, and you should be proud of the fact that you got to experience something over time that nobody else today has ever experienced, and they wish they were there to see that.
I remember pre-ordering games and going to like GameStop to get them, and that's not a thing anymore. Everything... even hard copies of games aren't really much of a thing anymore. Yeah, you just, hey, the game came out today, I'm going to download, or you can pre-download it. So it's ready to go. It's just like on release date, but there's not that feeling of staying up late, going to GameStop or wherever, waiting in line at midnight, and then going home and being like, I know it's like 12:30, but I'm going to play this game now.
I'm just going to play a couple hours.
Yeah. But I hear you say that. And I think based on everything we've talked about, like, you're not saying that because, I just want more games. That's not like why. That's not the motivation, I don't think. I think the motivation is people made cool stuff and we shouldn't just throw it away. We should like appreciate it and understand it and celebrate it. Like, you're not coming at it from the perspective of, I really like video games. I think you do, but I think you're coming at it from the perspective of, I think we shouldn't just throw people's art away.
Like, we shouldn't throw away history.
Yeah, look, you're building a really cool world, right? Of talking about these things. And I love your perspective on preservation. And I'm totally passionate about the same thing, right? Because at some point, like, it all becomes digital garbage where it just gets thrown out. And it's not that. And I think, as Rhinoceros pointed out, a lot of these things end up where they're a download today and then they just vanish into the ether. In building this world, there's also like a sense of, when I've watched your videos of like protectiveness, right? Because you're protective of the industry. Are there parts of yourself or your story you intentionally keep off camera?
Like I mentioned in school, I wasn't really excited about school whenever I went to it because it's just like, I'm back in reality. I'm like, back to doing homework. So I was just that kid that read all the Game Informer magazines. I had Nintendo Power. I had all the Ubisoft games, Microsoft ones, and I was reading and looking at the pictures and seeing how colorful and how somebody put a lot of detail on something. I'm like, I want to play that one next. I want to play that one. Friends came up to me asking, what's the newest game, man? What's up? And then a whole bunch of other stuff. And sure, I did do my homework, but then at a point in time, it's just, you figure you want to be a game journalist. So then, you want to try to do something supportive, try to do something that's like, hey, this game looks fun. It became part of my persona that I love video games for what they are, how they bring people together, how they do something different, how they keep expanding and doing something new, bringing more creativity out than probably would on a painting on the wall, or there probably is a video game that does that right now with VR. And it's just like, we are making history.
Where do you feel like you're, like today, where do you feel like most yourself online? Is it in YouTube comments or Discord or Twitter debates? Like, where do you feel like most yourself today?
Oh, I would have said Twitter, but Twitter's a mess. But YouTube comments, I've gotten more supportive comments on YouTube where people say, hey, I like your videos. I got a question about this. And then I give them like a response and they add and they say, thank you for taking the time to do this. India developers commenting on there as well. And I get to tell them, hey, I played your game. It was great. But just a couple of things. I appreciate you saw the video, but you're doing a great job on what you're doing here. Just keep it up. And most of them go, I need to hear that.
Yeah, I'll look through some of your YouTube comments and like, that you have people that are jumping in to ask questions about this particular game or give feedback even to you on your reviews. And you're super into, hey man, give me feedback. I'm cool taking feedback. Just, I think you're cool giving positive feedback. Now, what I noticed is that like you have a bunch of folks who are like-minded, who are like just jamming. And that's the space you've created with being so open and kind and willing to give feedback, friendly. Like you've allowed those people to have that like engagement as well.
Yeah, because I want them to be, you need a comfortable space. As hard as life is right now, you need a place to breathe out, breathe in, and just be you. Like,
yeah, man, for sure. 100%.
I can't just be like, oh, hey, no, it's locked down. You have to be robotic.
Yeah. Yeah. People are people, dude.
You're gonna get those type of people in the comments that be like, oh, your reviews are too short. I could do better. And I'm just like, then please do.
Yes.
What can I tell you, man? The more visibility you get to indie games, I have no problem with that. Please do.
It almost feels like those kind of two personalities, the ShadowMegaManZX and the IndieVoice, are connected. Do you view them separately as representing yourself as a person, or do you see them as aligned?
When it comes to both ShadowMegaManZX and IndieVoice, I feel like it's like this is going to be very probably, what's the word for this one? Lame to say.
Just do it, man. It's all good.
It's like a metamorphosis.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's like when ShadowMegaManZX, I was just a gamer playing games. I played League of Legends at a point, I will say that, but I was probably the person that was the most supportive. I didn't rage in those games. Or like when I'm playing Xbox and I'm playing with people online, I'm just saying, hey, dude, good job on that. And they said I suck or something. I'm like, hey, man, I probably do. And then after a while, when I got from pretty much probably in college, where ShadowMegaManZX transformed and configured itself like a Rubik's Cube into what IndieVoice is now, where I expanded on just playing video games, but being the person that's running about there, showing people off their games, retweeting, I'm sharing about, hey man, you seen that game? You seen that game? I'm showing you this one. Look at this trailer. And then I'm just reviewing the games, taking 5 minutes a day to audio record, edit, and then it takes me about an hour plus to make sure I edit the videos correctly and post them, schedule times, social media, all that jazz. And it feels, sure, I may not get a lot of likes and stuff, whatever it is, or thumbs ups on YouTube or a whole bunch of stuff on Twitter or Instagram, but I put it out there myself because I believe into that game and I want them to see something that could be a good time interest for them. And that's what I want to do. And after I did this, it just feels great. People actually taking the time to look.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome, man. Do you feel like, when I hear you say that, I feel like you think today IndieVoice more represents you, right? Because you're saying it's a metamorphosis from ShadowMegaManZX to IndieVoice. So you feel like today you are IndieVoice.
Yeah, it feels I'm being the voice of indie games and I'm being supportive as I like being who I am. So now it's just, I feel better about me and able to breathe more to my persona of what I want to be. But ShadowMegaManZX is always there. It's always been part of the history. It's part of the metamorphosis. It's just now carried along with it.
Yeah, it sounds like you're just a supporting person in general, and you just happen to also be someone who likes video games. So you're putting yourself into those spaces where you're not seeing support and trying to foster some of that.
So I have a question. So have you ever thought about what ShadowMegaManZX looks like?
Probably like
you can say anything, by the way, whatever you want to say.
A robotic android that is more of being that superhero that goes around saving people, maybe giving like advice or helping those that need some help or is there in the time of need.
So a robotic android hero. I got you. So do you see that in like a cityscape? Do you see that in space? Like where is
like
ShadowMegaManZX?
Like cityscape, like maybe like the internet or something.
Oh, okay. All right.
Tron.
Yeah, I was thinking Tron.
All right. I like that. And when you think about IndieVoice, like What does IndieVoice look like?
It's another version of me, just like more cartoony, like a Saturday morning cartoons from Disney. That's pretty much how I look at him. He's probably the realer version of me, where we still both support people, but one is having more of a louder voice to millions and millions of people, but he is still doing his best to get through all of these other people to say things about games you may not know about. And he's like that newspaper boy that you're just like, yeah, there he is. He's on his star. He's zooming around with newspapers.
Yeah, I get it. That's awesome. Thank you for describing that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. You had said earlier that you started IndieVoice because the games were losing something. We were losing something in the big games that were coming out. Was there a certain moment that triggered that for you, that a turning point, or was it just a slow brooding thing that finally hit?
AAA games are losing who they were. Like these publishers, it's not the game companies. I could probably say they are not the ones responsible for how their games are being dissected and made into DLC or something, or, oh, I don't like that. I say it's mostly the publishers, not all of them, but probably the main big three that have dissected the game industry into, I need more money, not the game to be fun. They are losing who they were, and the industry is seeing it. You're doing crunch time. They're wearing themselves thin. They're literally not like having any more creative ideas because they just want to get this over with. Yeah. And when I went to GDC that one time in school, I saw this. And then that's where the moment sparked into my head that these developers are putting a lot of themselves in these games and the work and time, barely able to see their families. Some of them have to sleep in their office under the desk just to make sure they wake up tomorrow to get it done. And it's just sad to see that these people that put all their dreams and be like, I want to work for Capcom and be the best, make the best game ever. And then you talk to them now and they're just like, dude, I just want to go home. I just want to go eat dinner and then just stop thinking about a game for a second in development. The illusion of what I saw as a kid as the game industry as being like this golden city of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is just a ruse. And these big CEOs or publishers, not all of them, I'm not saying not all of them, just the main three, don't care on how they all feel and how they're all stressed out.
I really respect your perspective on. For those who don't know, GDC is the Game Developers Convention, and that's a place where game devs meet up. They learn new tools and new tricks and experiences and skills together, and that happens annually. And so when you hear IndieVoice talking about that, going to see that happen, it's really a place where people are sharing their best practices in the games industry. And so like understanding like that people like that exist and what they're going through versus like the juxtaposition of big publishers who don't care about that. I think that's like in IndieVoice, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but when I hear you talk about that, I think that's like the driving thing is that you really just want to take care of people and you want to make sure they're well represented.
Right. It's hard to put your game out there today. It really is, because you're fighting against millions and millions of other developers out there that are also trying to reach what they want to reach. It feels good seeing that I can do something to make somebody's day better.
Yeah, man, for sure. For sure.
That's great. Yeah. And your content, I think, is already doing some serious work for indie visibility. I know you've talked about going live soon. So what does the Twitch version of IndieVoice look like?
So it would probably be a more slightly longer content, because now I am playing the full like experience with the viewers out there to say, hey, today's game we're looking at today is this. And then I'm going to be talking about indie games and, you know, about the game industry, or talk about some funny stuff and maybe some past funny things I've had to deal with, and then make them all feel welcome that, hey, welcome to the Twitch stream. I want you all to sit down, enjoy something, get food, something, just to watch me play indie games and probably make a fool of myself every 2 seconds. But look, that's not the point.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Whenever you're streaming or making content, someone's going to think what you're doing is dumb, and that's okay.
It's like, you know, that you have to work your audience. This is a whole new experience of YouTube. So you're live streaming. People are going to show up. They may leave. People may go stay for a couple minutes and then they go. The point is, it's not about like how many subscribers or views you get from like Twitch. It's more of just you showing off you.
Engaging.
Right. And don't be like everybody else. Don't be like a copy and paste. We've seen too many of those on a daily basis. Just be who you are and show off what you want to do.
Dude, when you think about it, right? Like you think about all the work you've done over the last 9 years, when you like look back at all the voices that you've amplified, like through indie games, what part of your own voice have you found along the way?
If I'm talking to like my younger self while doing this, because my younger self really wanted to be a game journalist. But when it comes to me today, I'm pretty sure the younger me that would be really happy and surprised on how much I've improved and how much I've been doing the things we both wanted to do. We made a platform of people that are supportive of what indie games we're reviewing. We may not have a lot of people, but we're still getting that big chunk that is slowly growing and growing. It may take a couple of years, but look, it's worth it. The fact that we're doing something that's making it groundbreaking. People are getting games reviews in 5 minutes or less. Some people are getting game demos out there that they did not know about. It feels great when I see somebody that's a gamer that, sure, they may leave a negative comment or something, but then they're also liking the video because now I didn't give you a whole bunch of fluff. I didn't give you a whole bunch of cringe jokes. I'm actually going to give you like the straightforward, honest opinion of what I'm talking about. I'm going to give you some positive criticism about the game. And then at the end, I'm going to give you my rating score, which to not give numbers, but give a recommended, needs work, very recommended, highly recommended. When I say needs work, it's not bad. It's just you need to put a little bit more polish onto it, but it is still something that you could be proud of.
Yeah. So what do you think IndieVoice would say to ShadowMegaManZX?
We became something better. Even though we were just a gamer, one of the random gamers out there, we have expanded into something that has now brought more positive light to the internet. We have evolved into something that you should be proud of and that we can keep growing into something that is something that we can both be proud of and that you should be proud of, that we evolved into this.
I love it, man. This is so awesome. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come right back after this with more IndieVoice, and we'll also be doing our ReRoll segment, and we'll see if we can visualize the metamorphosis of ShadowMegaManZX into IndieVoice during ReRoll. We'll be right back. All right, everyone. Thanks for coming back and joining us. We're here with IndieVoice, and we're going to be doing our ReRoll segment. So on ReRoll, Indy, this is how this works. So we have been taking notes throughout the podcast about, your key personality traits, preferred roles, favorite genres, signature style or vibe, visual inspiration. We've been taking notes, and we're going to share that with you here in a second. But throughout this process, as we've been listening to your story, we've been documenting this. And what we're going to do now is a segment called ReRoll. And on ReRoll, we are going to put this into our bot to create a picture of your avatar, of your digital persona. And so how this will work is we've already input this. You get 2 ReRolls to make alters to the picture. You can change whatever you like as part of this process. What we'll do first, we'll share the prompt with you, and Rhinoceros will read off what we have documented throughout the show. And we'll make sure you have a visual of what we're entering in, and then we'll generate your first ReRoll. Does that sound cool?
Sounds cool to me.
All right. So we took some notes throughout our hangout here so we're looking at a few different areas. But the first thing is key personality trait that we jotted down: voice for indie developers, for small game developers, helpful and supportive of his community. Preferred roles or gameplay, we wrote support and hero. Favorite genres, Mega Man, Sonic, Sega. That all came up a few times. A signature style, we wrote down retro, Tron, robotic, cityscape, and Kirby Star. And then visual inspirations, Electric Man from Mega Man, robotic android hero that metamorphoses into a Saturday morning cartoon male from Disney. That was a mouthful. And then also robot hand.
I was like a whole pair.
I was trying to capture the essence of what you said, the metamorphosis.
I can't argue with that. I said that. I said it.
So what do you think about this? Did we accurately capture the vibe throughout the podcast?
I believe you did, yeah.
Okay, we have no idea what this will do.
No idea.
So this is going to be as exciting for us as it is for you. And if you're ready, we'll re-roll.
All right.
Let's see what happens.
It looks like Mega Man's helmet. I swear, this is going to make the Saturday morning cartoon Mega Man. I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's what it looks like it's turning out to be.
Yeah, it does. All right. So in podcast form, of course, what we are seeing is a robotic cityscape with a Mega Man style character in a Saturday morning cartoon with a Kirby star on his chest and on his helmet.
It looks like Speed Racer in a Mega Man outfit.
Oh my god. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Really?
It's like they got Speed Racers that put this out.
Yeah, it looks so much like Speed Racer.
Car. I like that because that's pretty on point about Mega Man.
Yeah, you like that? You can change anything you want, right? We can, and the cool part about this is we can enter the prompt together. We'll all agree on the prompt. We've been doing this a little bit, so we've gotten better at making sure we're good at trying to preserve parts of the prompt where we can, but it's always a dice roll how it comes back. If there's anything you want to change for your first re-roll, we totally can do that, or we could stay here.
Jeez. I wonder if we could add like a face mask to us. Everything else is perfect. It's just, if we can add like a cool face mask or something, it would be really good.
What would you want the face mask to look like?
Or like a ninja-like thing. Like a ninja face cover, like halfway of the face. God, that literally looks like the Mega Man from the animated series. Sure. I didn't even mean to make that promise. That's what I did.
It's pretty cool. The way we've tried to design this is you see it and you're like, oh man, I so resonate with that. It's so cool. Okay, what I wrote is I love this picture. I want to keep everything the same, but could we add a mask to cover the face? It would be a half face cover like a ninja, just covering from the eyes down. So does that prompt kind of jive with what your feelings are?
Yeah.
Rhinoceros, what are you thinking?
No, that sounds good, I think.
Let's enter this again, and we will do our second reroll.
Why do I feel like it's just going to become Ninja Gaiden now? What are we like, okay,
it could happen. Yeah, that's why we call it reroll, because it is a dice roll. So I think we've done our best to preserve the things you like about it.
Yeah.
Hey, it's art. Maybe it goes up from here. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, let's see.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, because it's covering his face. So now he's one of those android superheroes that you see around town that's just, nice to help you, citizen. Then it just jumps off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Do you like this? You can change anything you want, right? You still have one reroll remaining. It's totally up to you if you want to change anything else about this picture.
Could we add a beam saber to his hilt?
Okay. All right. Let me type that in.
Like around his, like on a hilt or something. What is it called? I'm being dumb. Something to hold on to or something like on around like a belt or something with a beam saber in it.
Like a blue beam saber or like a color?
Red. This is a game character. I'm like, you know what? That's fine. He has Mega Man looking helmet. He can go around town saving people. Sorry about the noise because there's fireworks and dogs hate fireworks.
Oh, yeah. No, it's that time of year. I totally get it.
I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
So I wrote, I love everything about this picture. I want to keep everything the same, but I would love to see him with a LED red beam saber on his belt.
Yeah.
Yeah? Or do you want it in his hand?
Hand, yeah, no, hand, because I see a bad ending here. So yeah, man, I have the beam saber. It's on my belt. It's not stabbing me directly in the leg right now.
All right, let's do it. So we typed in, I love every part about this picture. I want to keep everything the same, but I would love to see him with a LED red beam saber in his hand. Perfect. All right, IndieVoice, this is your last reroll. So whatever happens after this, we're stuck with it. Are you confident in this reroll?
I am 80% confident.
80% confident. Rhinoceros, what is your confidence level?
I feel pretty good. Pretty good. We've created the thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do it. We will do our final reroll. I always wait to see the first part happen, and then I'm like, all right, so it did. We did or we didn't.
Say more. Oh God, what?
Yeah, exactly.
So they just see some sort of nightmare. Go like, oh God, what happened?
Oh, I see a beam saber.
Helmet's looking the same so far.
We're looking good. We're looking good.
Set up a star on my forehead.
Yep.
At this point, so I was going to say, it's the set. No. I just like this color. Oh,
the mask looks better. I like the mask. The angle of the beam saber is different now.
It's straight up. So maybe it got put in that left hand. Well, I
the
like
mask
the mask
is a little different.
I like that yellow around the mask.
All right.
Yay, there it is.
We did it. IndieVoice, do you feel like this represents you? It took a while to get there, but do you feel like this is a good representation of you?
I do the fact on the helmet, and now it's changed from a star to Aang's like arrow, and then the Kirby star in the middle, and now you have a light saber too. Perfect. Yeah.
Cool, man. All right. You are the Neon Guardian. You're a robotic indie hero lit by a glowing star core, ninja mask on, saber in hand, defending small creators 1 pixel at a time.
That is perfect.
Awesome, dude. Awesome, bro. This is your official Gamertag trading card, and folks can see it on gamertagpodcast.com. And we'll make sure that we get this Neon Guardian and your summary added to the card as well for the audience.
Nice.
The last 30 seconds of the show are yours, bud. Whatever you want to say, whatever you want to leave folks with about indie games or about the space you're building or just whatever's on your heart, man. Like, you're welcome to say whatever you want.
Just last 30 seconds or less.
Yeah, man. Whatever. The floor is yours, bud.
All right. If you want to check out indie game reviews that are about maybe 3 to 5 minutes, probably less, but also gives you no fluff, but straight to the point, positive criticism and constructive criticism, you can check out IndieVoice on YouTube. I am at 733 subscribers right now. I'm getting closer to 1K. So any subscriptions or any sharing amongst friends and family also helps. And if you want to see or more stuff on there that I do game deep dives and talks and things about what I think about the industry as it is. I have a couple of new videos coming out soon. I do have one talking about the new Stop Killing Games initiative that is happening right now. And I hope I'll have that overdone over the weekend. And a lot of other things will be coming out soon. So if you want to see more indie games that you have never seen before or gems that you have not seen amongst all the others, check out IndieVoice on YouTube.
Awesome, dude. And remember, IndieVoice is doing this out of the passion of his heart to help support small creators out there who are building big things with big ideas. IndieVoice, thanks for coming on the show tonight. Thanks for being a part of this episode of Gamertag. We super appreciate your time. Appreciate you hanging out. I appreciate you working through a ReRoll with us. We had a great time, man.
Glad I'm able to help and glad to talk to you guys about this stuff. Definitely, if you ever get invited to this, definitely worth the time to check this out. They are great podcasts. They make you feel comfortable, and they want to make sure you feel comfortable talking about your stories.
Thanks, buddy. We really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Gamertagged. That was an awesome episode with IndieVoice. And you can find his no fluff indie game reviews, deep dives, and dev highlights on youtube.com/@IndieVoice or follow his updates on Twitter at twitter.com/IndieVoiceYT. We'll make sure we have all of the links for his social and his YouTube channel in the description below. And if you're a dev out there dreaming up something wild, IndieVoice is already rooting for you. Feel free to reach out to him. He'd love to hear your content and love to see what you're working on. You can catch the ReRoll card from today's episode at gamertagpodcast.com. And don't forget, every follow, like, and sub helps us spotlight more creators just like him. Until next time, one more tag remembered, and we'll see you on the next episode of Gamertagged. Gamertag is produced by the team at Gamertag Studios, hosted by Scardo46, with original music by Ryan Osiris, editing by Portabella, and visual design by Sushi at Opal and Ink. That's a wrap for this episode of Gamertag. We hope you felt today's story and maybe saw a little bit of yourself in it too. To help power the podcast, follow and subscribe. It means so much to us. Want to see the ReRoll card? Join our Discord. You'll find everything, episodes, cards, and our crew at gamertagpodcast.com. Until next time, one more tag remembered.
Transmission ending. Goodbye.